I always had a very unpopular opinion that whenever I bring this up, I don't know if people are disagreeing with me because I hurt their feelings or because they just don't see it. I always felt like everybody, you, me, whoever's watching or listening, everyone you know, everyone experiences some sort of feeling of not being good enough in some sort of way. And I feel like oftentimes this inferiority complex can trigger aggressive or cruel behavior in people. I think oftentimes when people are being mean or cruel to other human beings or animals or anything, it's because of this complex. Like people who are constantly feeling inadequate, they will overcompensate this by trying to behave through dominant and aggressive behaviors and actions. And you even see this in TV shows, anime, whatever, right? Sometimes the bully in the movie or whatever is just some depressed guy, or, their life at home is very chaotic and sad. That doesn't make it right, by the way, that they're bullying people. But the parents didn't love them or treat them well, but all that stuff. That's an example of what I mean by someone's own inadequacy externalizing onto other people. And they just do it to hide their own personal vulnerabilities. The reason why people tend to disagree with me, or why I notice people get offended when I point this out, is because I also feel like, again, because everyone has this deep down part of them that doesn't feel like they're enough in certain aspects in life. I personally believe, in my opinion, most use this as a solely motivated way to accomplish their goals in life because of it, but lie to themselves, acting like they want to do it because, I'm pursuing this career. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that because, I'm trying to make some money, you know what I'm saying? Or I do it because I want to make people happy. I mean, is that truly your purpose to why you're grinding out certain things? Or is it because you saw someone else who had something you don't have and want the same thing? So you're really grinding out a certain thing because you also want the same assets as that person who inspired you, because you didn't grow up with those things. It made you feel little because you didn't grow up with that. So now you want it. You always felt inadequate about it. And then when I bring that up, right, people get uncomfortable. And then it gets defensive. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm questioning someone's whole purpose to why they're spending so many hours on a certain thing. And, speaking of defensiveness, this inferiority complex, when I say it encourages people to be cruel to animals, to other people, they're mean, they're hateful and all that stuff, I also think it's a defense mechanism. Sometimes we act like somebody has a, quote, personality disorder. Maybe that is a personality disorder. I did use the word personality, right? It consumes their personality. It makes sense, right? Actually, it's probably many different personality disorders. But I feel like when we start labeling people with these personality disorders, we also start making excuses for their behavior. Anime watchers, historians, my mental health record. If I went around in my videos going like, I hurt someone because I have borderline. If I said that versus I hurt someone because of my self-esteem, which one of those two sound better to you? Both come from a place of self-reflection, but one comes from a different place. One sounds like a get out of jail free card for my harmful behavior. One sounds less responsible and deflecting. You get what I'm saying? Like, oh, I have this, I have that. That explains why I did that terrible thing to you. I just have this, I just casually have this personality disorder, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I did that. Like, it's like, I'm not saying everyone uses it like that, because some people do use it as a warning for future situations. But like, it's not a get out of jail free card. But I feel like a lot of people use that, or they'll say that just because somebody is known to have a certain disorder or something like that. People who are generally cruel to other people, or let that feeling of not being good enough control their life, some of these people just end up being lost souls throughout life. I'm just going to be real with you. I don't really got an answer for it. I don't think some people ever find a solution to this. And I don't mean that in some theological religious sense when I say they're a lost soul. I mean lost soul as like, it becomes their whole coping style forever. And then, this goes into their parenthood as well. This goes into their future adulthood. They'll get older. They'll grow until they're like 100 years old. And this is their coping style for the rest of their life. They create their environment like that too. And what I mean by that is that they're always mean to people when people are around them. They always end up doing this and that. And, they're just not nice to be around. And whether they have self-awareness of this or not, some people don't ever want to deal with their deeper issues. And again, this is why I said they end up as lost souls, because they never deal with their deeper issues. Some people are straight up miserable, and this whole world has to feel it. or their whole world, because that's how they think of it, as it's their whole world, and anyone who experiences them. People in the world, for some reason, I feel like a lot of people feel like everyone has to experience how their own desire for superiority due to their inferiority complex. We got to deal with how they put other people down or cause them to, you watch them have envy driven like actions. There are people like this at work, at school, social media, everywhere. I've experienced or met people who always had a bone to pick with people who just had stuff that they don't. Like that's the crazy part to me. Like money, relationships, friendships, anything. It makes them go crazy too, and they start acting weird. The most bitter people in this world are those who feel like they are entitled to better. Am I lying? The most bitter people in this world feel like they're entitled to better. When you let this deep inferiority get to you, which I said we all have a version or sense of it, in my opinion. We all have some inferiority complex inside of us, right? But when we use it as a weapon to compensate for our unmet expectations, like life owing you success, life owes you success, life owes you respect, or life owes you happiness. I'm a good guy. I deserve a woman, bro. I deserve a good, like, bro, then what? Then it's gonna make you feel bitter when you don't get it. And that's what entitlement is. But, see, this is where people get offended, defensive. I'm not being entitled, all right, all right. That's why you're bitter, though. I understand. You're going to be mad at the world, or, I don't get it. But see, and this is the thing. Again, someone's feelings are going to get hurt. Entitlement tends to not, I would say 99% of the time, entitlement tends to not correlate or come with effort. That's the thing. But people think they're putting in effort. All right. See, it's a whole other topic here. That's why what I mentioned last video, in the last video about reading books, people be reading all these self-help books, or, they be watching these mental health gurus, or, this is how you become rich, y'all. You got to follow these principles in my life. You know what I'm saying? People be watching all this stuff, reading all these stuff, and feel entitled to having success in their life without action. That's great. You got a whole library of self-help books you read. That's great. You put together a YouTube playlist of all your favorite videos that motivate you or inspire you. That's great. But you can have all this wisdom and knowledge. What does this even mean or matter if you put no action to it? It's just mental clutter at this point. It's just a playlist at this point. It's just a library at this point collecting dust. Anyway, this episode is found on Spotify and YouTube. I'm out.